Illinois basketball was no match for those Rutgers freshmen tonight. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome welcome all to what I'm sure is going to be a very pleasant post-game show. Illinois loses to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights 82-73. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me on all your favorite social medias. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just know that win or loss, as you can see, I'll always be talking Illini, and we can always vent together on nights like this. Just do me one favor while you're here. Please hit that like button. It's not easy coming on after every single game when we lose, and disappointingly that we did today. So where do we get started? Let's get started with Gametime. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Where do we really begin? Basketball is not a very complicated sport. Of all the major sports, I think it's sometimes the least complicated. And it just so happens that when you have two of the best players on the court and they play like they did tonight, and Illinois had no one to really do anything about it, this was a game that they just didn't stand much of a chance of winning. And this is disappointing because of the depth that Brad Underwood supposedly has built with this roster. I'm myself am starting to get frustrated with the guy who was supposed to answer the bell to Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. Kasparas, once again, no show. The worst game as a college player. And I think I've said that 2 games in a row now. So at what point does this start becoming a concern? I think we're there now. We saw what a top 3 pick looks like, and we saw it twice today. We saw Ace Bailey in that first half, who Illinois had no answer for, but I knew that coming in. I said that in the pregame, that Ace Bailey is the type of length that he has and the game that he has. It's not just the Illini. There's just not many teams in the country who can defend a player like that. And having Trey White out today, I know he struggled offensively, but Trey White would have been at least another body to throw at Dylan and Ace today. And, then we saw Dylan Harper in the second half. We kind of see why, right behind Cooper Flagg, that these are going to be 2 of the top 3 picks in the NBA draft. Same old story. First half, just inability to make 3-point shots. And, we were talking about it in my Discord, which, by the way, if you're not in, please join. We're conversing throughout the game. I've never seen a shooting slump like this. At this point, I'm hesitant to call it a slump. I think I'm going to stop calling it a slump. It's not a slump. This team's just not a good 3-point shooting team. And that is a misfire by Brad. It's one thing where you can get lucky and hot on a night. And sure, on those nights, you could beat anybody. But you know what? More often than not, those shots aren't going to go in, and you lose games to a Nebraska and a Rutgers. And I said that again in the Discord tonight. This game reminded me a lot about Nebraska. I said in the preview that the first 5 to 10 minutes was going to prove a lot to me. I was going to get a lot from it just because of the environment that the RAC is, very similar to Nebraska. And Illinois struggled right off the gate. I believe they had 8 points in the first 15 minutes or so. It was bad. Just bad offense, taking mid-range shots and turning the ball over. And, quite frankly, just mistakes that teams shouldn't be making when they're, 23 games into the season now. The excuses, there's no more excuses. This team is who they are. And, can the team improve? Maybe, sure. But it's no longer becoming an expectation, if that makes sense. I say it on the show all the time, and some of you think I'm too critical at times, and some of you think I'm way too optimistic. But I've said this on the show plenty of times that hey, the ceiling of this team is so incredibly high. Sure, it might be, but now it just sounds silly saying that, especially after a game like this. Again, Rutgers, 2 outstanding players, but that's it. Jeremiah Williams is not that good, but today had 13 points. I like the game plan that they had on Jeremiah. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of you are on Brad for this game. I saw the chat before the recording started, and I'm not saying this was the best coach game, but I think defensively, it's just hard to stop Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey when they're shooting the way they are. The misfire on Brad is simply the roster construction, in the sense where they're playing NBA ball without NBA players. And truthfully, it all starts with the guy who's supposed to be the highest upside NBA player, and that's Kasparas. And usually I talk about the game in general in the first segment, and I talk about the players in the second. But I think let's just go ahead and get to the players right after this.
The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to make it even more exciting than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports with over 10 million members and billions in winnings awarded. PrizePicks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks even has a free pick for the big game where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw for 1 yard to win. Pair that with 1 or more correct pick, and you're cashing out. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
So it's time to have a conversation about Kasparas Jakucionis. He's just simply been bad. And, I know he had that injury for a while that lingered, and I don't know if it's still lingering. It doesn't really look like it to me, but except for when you watch him play. And I don't know if it's by accident that Illinois, for the second straight game, has looked better offensively when Kasparas is on the bench. That run in the second half that Illinois not only tied Rutgers up, but went up 3 at one point, was because Kasparas wasn't playing. And again, when your best player is playing this bad, I'm 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 for 7 field goal shooting. I'm sure there's going to be stat out there that's already been tweeted out about what his shooting has been in the last 4 or 5 games, and those numbers are not good. 0 for 2 from three-point land. Again, 3 for 5 from free throws. At some point, we have to stop making excuses for him as well. You saw what a dog looks like out there, and that was Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. Those guys put the team on their backs, a far less talented team. Make no mistake about it. The Rutgers might have the 2 best players on the court today, but for numbers 3 to 9, 3 to 10, belong to Illinois. And you saw Dylan and Ace put the team on their back, taking turns. Ace in that first half, Dylan in that second. Dylan Harper went for 28, 6, and 5. That is top 3 NBA pick numbers. Ace Bailey, 18 and 11. 3 blocks. Those are top 3 NBA pick numbers. Kasparas, I still think he's talented. He's clearly a lottery pick to me, but he's also clearly not a top 3 pick and not even top 5. And maybe that's not what our concern should be as Illini fans. Maybe we're Illinois fans, right? Like most of us, maybe some of you, let me know in the chat, don't care about what his NBA prospects are. Imagine if we hadn't heard about all that hype coming into this year and, seeing those mock drafts thrown in our faces. Kasparas top 5, top 7, and then seeing Kasparas, let's be honest, he carried our team earlier in the year, but he's no longer able to do that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Illinois has struggled since then. Who is the best player on this basketball team now? It's clearly not Kasparas. Is it Will Riley? Maybe, and that's good. That's nice to see. But you also see Will still have freshman moments. And again, I'm not trying to detract from him. He was amazing today. 20 points, 7 for 17 from field goals, two out of 5 from 3-point lands. The thing is, Will is the only guy who shoots the ball, and I feel like it's going to go in. I like that he's still confident. He's not letting nerves get to him. Everyone else, it's just, maybe Dre Gibbs Longhorn still has a key play here and there, but his stat line today was 6 points, 1 rebound, 3 of 8 shooting, 2 turnovers himself. But really, who is the best player on this team? And when Kasparas isn't playing like Kasparas was playing earlier in the year, what's the identity of this team? It's just a bunch of role players shooting 3-pointers. And that's not going to work. What kind of blueprint? What team historically has won with just a bunch of role players hitting 3-pointers? This team works because Kasparas is supposed to be an NBA talent who has a gravity on the defense and finds open shots for his teammates. Now, would his teammates make those open shots? Probably not at this point. But at least that's how this was all drawn up. Problem is, Kasparas, right now, if you're a defense, what do you like? You're not even. Are you concerned about him? He had 7 points last game, 5 now, 2. Just again, I think I kicked off last week's show, or at least the last post game, saying, "Hey, Kasparas just had his worst game as a college basketball player," and now I'm saying it again. Again, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists in 27 minutes, 4 fouls. He had 3 turnovers, which actually is an improvement for him. But again, that's just maybe because he only played 27 minutes. This team is going to be frustrating if Kasparas isn't playing the way Kasparas has been playing and the way we need him to play. Because otherwise, there's no alpha on this team. Otherwise, this is just a less talented Michigan State. Michigan State has a bunch of role players, but they're all veterans. And they know what to do on the basketball court. Right now, this team, they're playing. They are a bunch of freshmen and a bunch of people who are playing college basketball for the very first time, and they're playing like it. There's no leader here. I'm just, there's no Ty Rodgers. This is where you kind of miss a guy like Ty. You see him on the bench. You see him try to fire everybody up. But, we've all been applauding DGL and how energetic he is, and he seems like the only one who's always out there giving 110%. Like, I do wish that we could throw out a lineup where it's Ty Rodgers and DGL together, just because DGL would have a partner in that. You'd have 2 guys who would be getting wood burn every single dive for the ball. And maybe that's just what this team needs is energy. Kylan Boswell, is there a bigger momentum killer than Kylan over the last, 2-3 weeks? Today, again, when Illinois has finally, made some progress, tied the game up after a horrific first half, he shoots a 3 that he had no business taking. That was just a ridiculous 3 by any stretch of the imagination. Tommy Avicic, I legit just felt bad for him. It didn't look like he completely had it today. But, and then he comes down with the injury. And, man, how many of our hearts stopped when he had that injury?
Everybody. It's, great. I'm grateful that he came back in, but obviously he left that game. And I don't know what the long-term diagnosis on that injury is going to be. But if we're not already, a lot of people are, I know, understandably jumping off this bandwagon right now. And I'm not saying I necessarily blame you. We are, 60, 70% into the Big Ten Conference season now. And this team just continues to lay eggs. I believe it was on Tuesday or Wednesday's episode that I said, hey, look, I think we turned the corner against Ohio State. In that second half, I really liked what I saw. But if we don't take care of business this week against Rutgers and Minnesota, I've got one foot out the door at this point. And again, for me, it's just roster construction. A lot of the guys who are supposed to do what they're doing aren't doing it. And is that Brad Underwood's fault? Sure. But it's too late now. I know some of you are, of course, calling for Brad's firing and all that. And of course, I'm not going to agree with that. He took on an undertaking this past year in bringing all these new guys in. Some of it his fault, and quite honestly, some of it not. I do think a lot of these guys are going to come back next season, and I like the future prospects of next season. But that doesn't make me feel any better today. It doesn't. It's just, I saw as soon as we came back again, getting flashbacks from that Nebraska game where we tie the game up and then all of a sudden just bad play after bad play. How do you correct that? That's something where we're going to hear Brad say in the post-game session, like, hey, the players should have done this, should have done that. You got to take some accountability, Brad. I'm pro Brad Underwood on the show. You all know that. And, sometimes it gets tiring defending him. And I'm not, I'm letting you guys have your moment. This is a venting session, right? I say this after every post-game session. We're all allowed to say whatever we want in that chat. And you have 24 hours. After 24 hours, I'll change my mind on a bunch of things. I don't even know if I want to rewatch this game tomorrow morning. That's usually what I do. Go to bed, get this episode up, and then rewatch the game in the morning while I'm having breakfast. And that way I can just reevaluate and see if the things I saw live were the case. I don't know what I'm going to watch this game and come out positive thinking. Will Riley, right? Let's not be completely negative here. Will Riley had 18 points, and I think Will's turned the corner. I think Will is blossoming into the player that we all hoped that he could be. It's just unfortunate. I mean, imagine this Will Riley with early season Kasparas. That would have been the answer to Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. But Kasparas has just disappeared. And at some point, Brad's not going to answer it, but someone's got to ask the questions. What has changed? It's not like the level of competition has gone up for Kasparas. Kasparas was having good games against good Big Ten teams. We haven't been playing good Big Ten teams lately. And he's struggling. Is this the freshman wall that I was sure that he was going to hit a little while back? Maybe, but I didn't think it would be this bad. I really did not think it was going to be this bad. I still thought freshman wall Kasparas would be 14, 4, and 3. But he's almost unplayable. And again, I'm going to repeat myself. For the second straight game, Illinois looked its best when their best player was not on the court. And that's a huge problem. That's not going to work. It's why this team is now, 7-6 in the conference? And which one of us is confident going into Minnesota on Saturday? Minnesota was supposed to be the worst team in the Big Ten Conference, but they've been on a roll lately. And again, I'm not looking forward to playing at the Barn. Let's get to some of your thoughts, which I'm sure are going to be very entertaining right after this. Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Gametime Picks for a while now, and here's why I love it. The seat view feature is a game changer. Before I even hit buy, I can see exactly what my seat looks like in the venue. It's so reassuring. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guaranteed. If you find a better deal anywhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Ready to make your next event even better? Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, welcome back. And again, we got 94 people watching and 15 likes. So please, if you don't mind, hit that like button while you guys are all here. I know we're all frustrated. I'm angry too, and trust me, you guys can probably sense it in my voice. Even I'm at the edge at this point. But I continue to make content for you guys daily. You can always count on a half hour's worth of Illini content on this channel. So if you don't mind, please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. It makes nights like this easier. Again, I kind of skimmed through the comments earlier, and this is just kind of encompasses the mood tonight. Jason Lynch says this team is pure garbage. Season is over. Good luck in the NIT. Such a joke. Underwood and the staff need to go away. For the record, I agree with none of that, but I understand your frustrations. Czar says Josh at least needs to force Brad to replace his kid with the real coach. I can understand the frustrations with Tyler. Again, they built an offensive system. The problem is the pieces that they put into that system don't seem to be compatible. And, there's going to be some conversations to be had. Jay says, never seen a potential great Illinois team go down the toilet in a month. I understand what you're saying. I don't know if it's necessarily gone down the toilet, guys. It's still a good basketball team. It's just maybe an average basketball team. Okay, let's put it that way. This was the number 4 projected team coming into the Big Ten this year. Jason, I agree with you. He says 0 player leadership. Hint on why I said I like program players and not these one and done dudes. Jason, I think you might be overblowing that a little bit. A lot of these guys are going to be coming back next year. Will they come back? I don't know. But again, or should they come back? It's one of those where if they don't come back because we don't want them back because of their play, then, I'm not saying you in particular, but the Brad detractors will say, see, here we go, recycling a roster again. It's like, no, this year we knew we were going to have a roster turnover because of the veteran team that we had last year. Last year's team is the opposite of this one. They were all seniors, if not fifth-year guys. Next year, we're going to have, I think we could have a decent amount of percentage of the roster return. And, how many do we want back? I don't know. Zara, I know you're going to be having a fun night today. Amazing to build an entire roster and offense from shooting the 3, and you're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country. Tyler Underwood, Galaxy Brain. Jay and Brandon agree. Inexcusable loss. Owen Brown says, hello, 8 seed. And I'm not even disagreeing with that. We're at this point fighting for a 7-8. My goals have adjusted. Hey, can we get to a double bye in the Big Ten tournament? And let's be honest, right now, I don't even feel confident about that. And, that hurts. It really does. Like that it's very, very frustrating. Will this team win a game in February? I think they will, Brandon. I think it's tough. In March is going to be tricky, though. It's going, agree with me or not, this is just one of those teams where I can see them losing in the first game in the NCAA tournament, but I can also see them at this point, going through the Sweet 16. I don't know. I think I'm readjusting my expectations on making an Elite 8 or anything beyond that at this point. But it's disappointing this late in the season that this team just hasn't blossomed the way that they should be. Because I still think they're the most talented team in the conference. That doesn't mean necessarily they have to be the best, but they shouldn't be 7th or 8th or whatever they are after this game. Speaking of, Cesarino, where's all this talent everyone talks about? I'm signing off on following this team for now. Can't watch this ship go down. I can't blame you. I hope you still join me here on the show and can support the channel for a little bit. But, if not, I appreciate having you around. Owen says KJ needs to stop his circus passes. Less playing time. He's right. Yeah, a lot of people are frustrated with KJ. And again, I had my opening segment before I saw any of this. I'm running out of words. At this point, it's because look, we out-rebounded them. No, actually, it was tied 36-36. But in that second half, we were playing the game that we like to play. But again, I know some of you guys play basketball, right? It's when 2 players are clearly the two best players on the court. Sometimes it's hard. It doesn't matter who players 3 and 8 are. It's if the 2 best players are on one team. Basketball, it only has 10 guys on the floor together and 5 guys on each team. And the problem is we only had one guy to answer their 2 stars, and that was Will Riley. And Will Riley, he caught fire for a while, but he struggled at the end. But that's when you needed Kasparas. Kasparas is supposed to be your closer. But right now, he's not doing anything. Richard seems to agree with me. I blame KJ more than anyone else. He was killing us. I didn't realize Trey White wasn't playing till the second half. Thus, my call for Riley to start. Yeah, Trey White, we could have used him today. Again, I'm not making excuses, guys. Like, I'm just simply stating facts, right? Like, this, we shouldn't have lost today. Having Avicic gone for that stretch and having Trey White, at least another body to throw against those 2 future all-stars that the Rutgers have, it would have been nice to have him around. Brendan said, Riley, DJL, Morez, you cannot take off the floor right now. Yeah, Brendan nailed it. Those are the only 3 guys I tried. Avicic too. I think Avicic had a pretty solid game today. I'm dreading to hear the news on what that injury is, because if Avicic plays on Saturday against Minnesota, I'm going to be nervous. If Avicic doesn't play, and we have Dawson Garcia going up against this Illini front court where it's just Morez Johnson, and if Avicic is not playing, you can get Morez in foul trouble. Then we got Ben Hummerkaus guarding Dawson Garcia. That's going to make me start. That's making me sweat right now, just thinking about it. All right, let's get to another. Arlen says, this team makes me so mad. I think that's what I need to make the title of this episode. Illinois basketball makes us so mad. Brandon disagrees. He says the draft picks didn't kill us. Okay, I mean, to me, it's like there was simply no answer for those 2 guys. And he says a lot of turnovers. This guy here says, man, I think we are average at this point. We're close, right? We're close. Nintendo Maker says, I'm trying to stay positive on the NCAA tournament, but I'm not seeing it. I see the Crown or NIT tournament. No, we'll make the NCAAs, guys. Okay. I mean, unless this is just venting. If that's the case, Mike, go for it. We're fine in the NCAAs. I know some people have texted me back and forth worried about that. I'm not worried about that. I know this team is not great, but it's good enough. The problem is we thought it could be great. And we thought this could be, a final weekend basketball team. And right now it clearly looks like it's not. Fighting Illini says, I miss Terrence. You and I both. I can't wait for February 15th. I really hope that, that game against Michigan State, like that's kind of what we're gunning for here now, right? It's just, Kofi night against UCLA. Oh man, I'm just thinking out loud. I watched UCLA beat Michigan State last night, and I want no part of the Bruins right now with the way this Illinois team is playing. But again, this is all on Kasparas. I know I'm repeating myself, but if you guys have another point that I'm missing out on, I know the popular consensus here right now is Brad Underwood, and I get what you guys are saying. I just simply don't agree. I still think he's a top, what do I call him? Top 12 coach in the country. I think this is a misfire. But, what can we do about it now? It's like these players aren't making these wide open shots. And again, a month ago, things would be different because it's Kasparas. Like, Kasparas is the misfire now all of a sudden. And again, I'm not trying to be over dramatic. I still think he's a top 10, top 13 lottery pick, but I don't know. Andrew says, did Brad really allow his team to shoot like 17 threes in the first half? What's he doing? Who's telling him we are a 3-point shooting team? Lee says, I don't know the numbers, but it seems like the big run at the end of the first half and during the middle of the second was when KJ wasn't on the floor. He still might be hurt. Yeah, this is a tough game for all of us. I think we all get the consensus. Everyone's kind of saying the same sort of thing in the comment section. It's frustrating. I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about on tomorrow's episode. It's No words. This team should be better. This team it's 15-7 now. Am I wrong? Am I right? 7-6 in the conference. You didn't have to compete for the conference, but the fact that we're not competing for a double bye at this point, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And I know a lot of Illini fans are passionate, and that's, that can be good and that can be bad. There's a lot of passion behind a lot of your guys' words. And so, even I have to be careful because sometimes I'm too positive for you guys. And sometimes, I do think that I try to level the ship a little bit because I know there's a lot of frustrated people watching the show. But regardless, the show will go on. I'm going to sleep this off tomorrow morning. I'm going to find something optimistic about this. But I'm telling you, I'm nervous about this Minnesota game. And I think we all should be at this point. Please, on your way out, hit that like button. I'd sincerely appreciate it. Try to get a good night's sleep. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.